mysterious, terrifying. This is the Black-Eyed Children Explained. What's going down, Mouse Nation, and welcome back. Today we have another creepy urban legend for you guys. This time we're going to be discussing the frightening and absolutely terrifying, the legendary Black-Eyed Children. And these little guys and girls have been known to roam neighborhoods and lonely roads since the 1980s. They are mysterious creatures of the night, and they seem to be between the ages of 6 and 16. They have extremely pale skin and, of course, dark black eyes. They speak in a monotone voice, they don't breathe, and their origin is mostly unknown. But some believe them to be aliens, interdimensional beings, hellspawn demons, or maybe even vampires. Now, these little monsters first showed up in tabloids in the 1980s, but the true legend didn't begin to grow until Texas news reporter Brian Bethel told his story. He wrote a story in 1996 detailing his encounter with Black-Eyed Children. And this is one of the first known eyewitness accounts to have ever existed of these little monsters, of these creatures of the dark, of these evil entities. And that story goes as follows. It was 9:30 p.m. on a warm August night in Abilene, Texas. I left my apartment to drop off my payment for my internet bill in an overnight drop box. This drop box was right next to an old discount movie theater. You know the ones where they play older movies at a much cheaper price. Tonight's showing was Mortal Kombat. I remember this because I used the marquee lights to write out the check for my payment. I was startled. Someone knocked on my car's window. To my surprise, it was two young boys, somewhere between the age of 10 and 14, one taller than the other, both wearing hoodies. I figured they wanted some cash to watch a movie or something, but out of nowhere, I suddenly felt extremely uncomfortable. Goosebumps began to sprinkle down my arms and neck. Something just wasn't right. I slightly rolled down my window to hear what they had to say. The taller boy grinned, exposing his oddly white teeth. The shorter boy seemed nervous for some reason, and neither looked me directly in the eyes. The boys told me that they had left their money at home and asked me for a ride. Well, not exactly asked, but more like demanded. You see, they sounded just like kids, but they didn't talk like them. The taller boy seemed unusually confident when he spoke. They told me they wouldn't be able to get into my car unless I invited them in. Paranoid, I began to stall by asking what movie they were going to see. I didn't really care. I was just trying to figure out what I needed to do to get the hell out of there. Mortal Kombat, the tall boy stated with a blank stare. At that point, I realized something was going on. I knew for a fact that the final showing for Mortal Kombat had begun an hour earlier. And that's when I noticed their eyes. Those dark, colorless eyes. They seemed empty, like two black holes. No iris, no pupil, just complete darkness. The boys began to get noticeably angry, begging me to let them in the car, trying to reassure me that they wouldn't hurt me and that they didn't have a gun. They screamed louder and louder to let them in, pulling on my door handle and banging on my windows. And that was it. I hit the gas and took off, leaving the black-eyed kids screaming angrily and running towards my car. I had to make a U-turn to reach the exit of the theater, but to my surprise, the boys were gone. Totally vanished. Nothing was left except an empty sidewalk. And there began one of the earliest examples of what we now know as a creepypasta. And this is also what began and started as the basis of what every single story about the black-eyed children would be in the future. The legend of the black-eyed children then grew like wildfire, spreading from city to city, with other tales and word-of-mouth stories about people talking about their friends' friends who've also seen the black-eyed children. Usually in these stories, a small group of black-eyed children come up to you in your vehicle or to your doorstep, asking for a ride or telling you that they need to use your phone or your bathroom. The potential victim then begins to feel an overwhelming sense of fear, right before they realize the darkness in their eyes. Brian Bethel then went on to go onto TV shows and other interviews to talk about what he had seen that night. And more stories began to pop up all over the United States. In 2013, an episode of MSN's Weekly Strange featured some stories about the black-eyed children, adding to their legend. Today, there are countless eyewitness reports and stories surrounding the black-eyed children all over the world. And maybe someday I'll tell you about my encounter with these black-eyed demons. What do you think? Are they real or just an overblown story? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. As always, I'm your host, Morty Mouse. I'll see you later, or I'll see you on the other side.